And it's lovely to be here. It's so strange still to be online. Um, I'm going to read tonight. I was thinking a lot about this healing, and I teach narrative medicine, and I teach at the Lewis Katz School of Medicine. I teach the medical students yoga and the philosophy of yoga, the sort of life of yoga and philosophy. My background is in religious studies from the University of Chicago, divinity school, and I teach yoga to children. So there's a lot of voices of children. My daughter's here, which is great that she's up for this. It's early. And I'll be reading later about 3 poems about her and one sort of by her in a sense, because it's a monologue where it's her voice. But I've been also just given that it's been a hard year. And I've been thinking a lot about the healing we all need as a nation and as individuals, just with COVID and with Trump and the toxicity. But then, for me, it was very disturbing, even the Camp Auschwitz T-shirts and all that. But I didn't want to be too harsh, but I did in 2017, our house was vandalized in South Philly, and I came home from teaching at Temple to find a J on my house, and my neighbor found this Nazi skinhead who was in the process of writing the whole word on my house. And then that, I think a week later, Nicholas Kristof in the New York Times asked for poets to write about Trump. Maybe we could write about Trump. So I sent him, I wrote a poem about the J, and my daughter was just 5 then, and she was just learning her alphabet. So I will share the screen because I think it's much easier to see the poetry if we can share. So let me see if I can do that and share so you can read along, sing along. So this is called The Story of the Letter J. Can you see? Okay, this is called, and so part of this was in the New York Times. And here's the whole poem. A J spray painted on my olive green house in South Philly. Its white hooked tail grazes my daughter's head. A skinhead, says my neighbor Jorge, un racis blanco, no entiendo, holding my hand inside his hand, far longer than any gringo would. He smells of sawdust and cologne. I shoot a picture with my phone of my daughter underneath the J. Evidence is always good to gather. She traces the letter with her small finger. She's just learning about how letters make words and words make sentences. Doesn't yet know sentences can kill. Arbeit macht frei. Sentences can lie, make America great again. Sentences can heal. I have a dream. She's fished a pen from my bag and draws a K beside the J. A new story begins. Across the street, Mozart seeps out of the second story. 12-year-old Anita from China. Jorge and I look up as if music were something to be seen, as though it were something we could hold on to. I'll paint for you, he says solemnly. It will be like new, like it never happened. So there was a little poetic license in that. And I've been writing a long time about war, and this is in my hometown in East Rockaway in Long Island. There was this man in this wheelchair. So of course, a lot of things come from the personal. The personal is political, and this was a vet, and I've been thinking a lot because we are in perpetual war. So this is called Local 1. The vets sit in wheelchairs watching the crane tear down the East Point Inn fish house. The sun sets fire to the aluminum foil between one vet's legs. I imagined the fire last time he set one foot in front of the other in Vietnam, another country ago. He's eating a bologna sandwich and feeds the ends of the Wonder Bread to the birds that gather round the wheels of the chair, the way his grandkids, who come every other Christmas, gather round, their sweaty palms open to receive what? The body of Christ, a crisp $5 bill. Lines of old songs come from time to time, the way certain clouds settle between shoulder blades, turning your body into a cheap motel. Such stubborn clouds can make you feel like you're a squeaky spring in your gut, that the walls are thin and someone might overhear this faulty murmur. Next thing you know, your daughter will send you to the doctors. He musses up their hair, presses an electric button that lets him roll off the mountaintop of memory. It gets too crowded sometimes to just sit still. The crane's rocking now back and forth, aimed to hit its target, the old fish house where he had his first fish fry, where he proposed to his wife, where they fastened the baby into her high chair and fed her peas and carrots. I pass the pond and watch the vets feed the birds. Miniature American flags stick out of their wheelchairs. Even the most dangerous memories insist on remaining local, are stubborn as hiccups that will not leave the body, settle like dust or innocence between the ears. I think their bodies are my flags, stuck inside me, resistant even to the demolition that happens next door around the picket fence, where the light glows, the birds gather daily. Thanks, Larry. And I lost my parents when I was very young. I was 26 when my mother died of pancreatic cancer, and I was 31 when my dad died. And I am writing a memoir now, and I realize I really do live with ghosts, and I talk to the dead as much as I talk to the living. And so this one is called Secrets, but it's a happier poem, I think. One, when my father was moving from being to being nothing, I was about to go for a bike ride. His right hand rose up from under the blue blanket as he patted the bed for me to sit. I sat and stroked his face, so thin and unshaven it appeared slender as the Flatiron Building. Two, in summer we could sit in the yard for hours eating cherries, throwing the pitch the dog would chase. We're planting cherry trees, he'd say. In winter, we raced through bowls of green pistachios, seeing who could track them faster. We'd set aside the sealed ones, the ones that stubbornly refused to be opened, the ones with no crack. Daddy said they have secrets they can't bear to share with us yet. He poured the uncracked nuts into a ceramic bowl. He never disturbed the bowl, but sometimes he would lift it as though it were a seashell. He would nod his head. He was a quiet man. 3, you will listen to your father's slow breath, place ice chips on his cracked lips. You will listen to the final rattle and remember a baby's noisemaker, Daddy's keys. 4, any stillness I possess belongs in a yard where another family lives, in the midst of cherry trees they cannot see. Oh, verklempt. And this is going back to my hometown. There was a man who we called Mr. Touch, and he was also a Vietnam vet. And the rumor is that he had to touch everything to make sure it wasn't a bomb. And so this is called Like Mr. Touch. He looks like Mr. Touch, he who walked around my hometown, laying hands on things, fire hydrants, grocery carts, trees, cars. Once he touched me, came up behind me, pressed his hands lightly upon my back. I turned to see his bearded face, blue eyes, his mouth full of cement, a hole of memory. He walked away, a ghost. He touched things to make sure they weren't bombs. In Hebrew, the word for bomb is the same as the word for pomegranate, rimon, a burst of red. He had been to Vietnam. No one knows he touched me, bidding me to explode into 1,000 seeds so he could rest. And, my daughter being born later in my life, it was just an event for my husband and I. And we bubblize her, as my husband says. It's a verb. And this is, I've always loved cherry blossoms. They're sort of ephemeral beauty. And this is very much for Rachel, my little one here. Momentary. Cherry blossoms arrive, enter and exit on the narrow street. sometimes a single branch, sometimes the tree itself. The cuckoo today keened an elegiac tone. It flew away, but its echo remains. In the last ultrasound, you held the umbilicus the way Lady Liberty holds her torch, the way a warrior holds a sword. Will you be a tightrope walker, my girl, with cherry blossom eyes? Tell me you know how to contort time. Tell me the season will be different. And here's another one for Rachel. It's called Voice. What will your voice sound like once it comes out of your body, like a first rain, first snow, first wind, hail, sun, bird? I've become an idolater, Lord, almost a murderer as I squeeze her in my midnight arms. How will I protect her, wrap her, tease her into this thing called language, the cut of life? How will I unwound her from the noise of redemption, so busy revealing itself outside the window, at the bus stop, in front of a pyramid of seedless grapes? She's gonna say, Mom, don't cry. She's waiting for me to cry.
I am.
She. And this is my daughter later, after her voice came out. My daughter connects the dots on my age spots, turns my hand into a board game, asks me if the tooth fairy exists, tells me she likes the apple cider donuts I accidentally made with apple cider vinegar, tells me she wants to be a teacher like me and asks me whether you can drink blood because her tooth is loose, asks me why I named her after my mother who is dead, whether it's okay if she names her daughter after me, even if you're alive, your hand looks like a spider's web. Can I color it in now with non-toxic marker? I promise to stay in the lines. She sniffs my gray hairs and pets the wiry strands down, tells me to let it all go gray. I've been thinking that Jews probably can't have fireplaces or chimneys. That way Santa knows which houses to visit and which not to visit. She's coloring the base of my thumb, the one I almost cut off when I was bartending in Brooklyn. She kisses the scar, asks me if I want a rainbow design or something abstract. I wonder what Rothko was thinking when he painted that, pointing to a framed poster over the TV that looks like a praying sunset. Her face a mess of concentrated innocence. Her hands a sculptor of time and questions. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Oh, this is another one, and this is really all in Rachel's voice. And my daughter explains books and death to me. Maybe next time you'll read it, we'll rehearse.
No.
No? Okay. When a story you tell becomes a book, the book becomes like a little baby coffin for the words that are like half alive and half not alive. So not exactly dead. Like the book is this third thing between life and death. Like, let me see if I can explain it this way. The words were dying, which means forgotten for a variety of reasons, like not enough people saying them because they couldn't remember them, like Natalia in first grade can't remember her sister Jenna's phone number or the capitals of European cities because she says, why do I need to remember if I can Google it? So anyway, the words are dying, like with the death rattle thing and everything. I mean, if you got really quiet, you could hear the whole planet rattle like a snake. So the words had to be gathered inside the pages of this thing called a book. But something was also lost since the words and letters, especially the letter Q and Z and W and V were dying. And the only thing that made them happy and infused them with life was when people read them to themselves or aloud. It didn't matter. Like the scientists measured this. So this could revive the words and keep them half alive. You just open a book and let your eyes read the words. And this makes the letters and the book really happy. They begin to cry. And you can feel the tears inside your own body too. It all starts over here in your heart, beside your lungs, near your ribs. And when you read, Your breathing becomes more steady and your mouth becomes more still, and the letters float around in tango with your cells, and that's how memories begin to take shape. It's kind of half mysterious, but really scientific at the same time. So reading is like visiting an open grave, but it's not a sad place. It's a place of possibility, because the body can stand up and rise and dance any minute, because when you read, anything can happen, and it does. The dead dance a Viennese waltz on a rainy night, and Oma slurps chicken soup, cherry blossoms cha-cha, dragons eat tacos, and crayons talk. And you are a superpower hero goddess, because by reading, you're saving the book from the same fate as the dinosaurs.
I have a question.
What's your question?
Why did you write that?
Bravo, Lisa.
What, Aaron?
John said, I said bravo.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have just 3 more. Is that okay, Aaron? 2 more. Are we okay? On time? Yes? Okay. I don't hear.
Yes, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is a poem definitely about the body and politics and song, and it's called After the Rain. After the rain, the puddles in the lawn chair reflect trees, lost leaves, like a man with a receding hairline. After the rain, the ache of fall settles in the air like spider webs atop the bushes. Worms invade my dried Turkish apricots, and the chicken is undersalted. After the rain, I crave oatmeal, walnut cookies, and a glass of milk. I crave sex hard and raw to stop time. Yes, hard sex that stops time. Something to chew on like taffy, raw beef, seaweed, mineral, rich. After the rain, I run 5 miles, leaping over puddles, Kierkegaard style. I listen to Coltrane and Neil Young, Elvis Costello and Janis Joplin. I break open the red when sufficient time has passed between the fall of the sun and the rise of the moon. After the rain, I want the carnival to come to town, to set up a tent between the church and the abortion clinic. And I want all the kids with ADD to throw away their drugs, and all the tired mothers to get drunk. And I want to sway my hips until the birds start singing their song. And I want to know a man who understands the Saturnian rings I make, the circular twists and turns of my body's often sloppy penmanship. I want him to know how I dot my I's and cross my T's. I want him to dot my I's and cross my T's. Oh, Lord, after the rain, I'm so wet, I don't know what to do with the only body I've been given and given and given. Kind of felt weird reading that in front of my daughter. She left. I realized she's tired. She doesn't get it. It's like, it's okay. And this is the last poem. And it was most definitely inspired by the events on January 5th, this insurrection, 6th. And this Camp Auschwitz t-shirts, 2 of my, well, I had one grandfather who died in a camp, and all my family on both my adopted side and my biological side are Holocaust survivors. My 2 fathers and my mother and my grandmother. So I have a lot of, I am writing a book now about this double Holocaust inheritance, and lots of doubling, but it feels, it feels, I didn't expect to be triggered by these, 6 million is not enough, but I am a 2nd generation child of survivors, and I'm surprised myself. So I in the poem, there's a reference to Ceylon, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with this Black Milk of Daybreak, this poem. So it just goes like this, the verse: he was a German survivor of the Holocaust. His mother died, both his parents, I believe. And it says, he says in German, black milk of daybreak, we drink it at evening, we drink it at midday, and morning, we drink it at night, we drink and we drink. We shovel a grave in the air, there you won't lie, too cramped. Again, never. The days compose themselves against a winter sky, red scarf, white balloon. a helicopter on a hospital roof by an American river, a Jewish child's hand reaches out from an unfinished grave. Her mouth is full of earth. The sky is blue witness, but it's not mine. God is carving a swastika into the outside wall of my house. It makes God thirsty. He drinks Salon's black milk. I drink Salon. And that's it. Thanks.
Wow.
Beautiful, Lisa. All good.
Thank you.
Really important work. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Leela.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Thank
Unbelievable.
you. Yeah.
Great, just great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing all that work and
Yeah.
all that effort. And thank you for sharing your family there with us.
Yes, yes.
All the generations,
All the generations. Yeah. Yes.
bringing all that to life. Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
any questions that you have for Lisa? Could you put them in the chat, and then maybe, are you going to be able to hang around for just a minute, or do you
Oh
have to-
yeah. And my books, if you want a book, just let me know. I can, they're on Amazon, but I can send you one and anything, sure. Yeah.
Great.